Next curve.
Hi, everybody. This is Leonard Lee, Executive Analyst at Next Curve, and welcome back to another, Debbie, is this a Data Diva 911 episode?
I think so, yes.
Okay, all right. This is an official Data Diva 911 episode because we have come up with a situation here that we need to share with everyone. And this is the reThink webcast series on security and trust. And, it's ending up becoming a little bit more. We do a lot of AI privacy related stuff. So, but we're going to be talking about let's call it synthetic engagement, synthetic stuff. Okay.
Synthetic stuff on the internet, yes.
Yeah, in the internet and the impact that it has on a lot of stuff, the implications. So, yeah, I mean, we're literally shooting from the hip with this one. So, as always, I'm here. If this is a Data Diva 911 situation, that means that we are going to be in the presence of Debbie Reynolds, who is the data diva of Debbie Reynolds Consulting LLC. And so welcome, Debbie. How are you doing?
I'm well. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, of course. So I'm looking forward to having this really quick chat with you. Maybe it's not going to be quick. Maybe it'll be long. But let's talk about this. I mean, you and I were just kind of having a chat about generative AI and its application on social platforms, and whether it's TikTok or any of the Meta properties, or what we generally see out there in terms of like digital marketing, data engagement, brokering. Let's talk about this for a minute, because one of the things that everyone talks about and is quite frankly using generative AI for is synthetic content, synthetic stuff, right? And if we look at the ecosystem of online or digital marketing and advertising, let's talk about this for a moment, because, one of the things that I think is widely talked about and is a problem that I don't think a lot of folks understand is what a few years ago was called the chatbot problem, right? Now we have generative AI. We have all these investments going into by hyperscalers to buy up these GPUs. A lot of it is being used for what's called recommenders and recommendation engines. Those recommendation engines are driving ad engines, but then there's another dimension to all of this, and we hear a lot of this from Meta around you being able to create your own agent, agentic. They call this agentic generative AI, and basically what it is kind of an avatar or proxy of you, right? Which is a trained a LLM or a small language model that's trained based on your information, and ultimately its agentic function is basically act in your stead. So let's talk about what that would mean for this ecosystem. And it seems like, as I'm explaining this, sounds like a really, really huge topic that we're probably just going to, address the tip of the iceberg on. But what's your reaction to this problem statement or this challenge?
Well, oh my goodness. First of all, I personally am not a fan of agents, right? Because I feel like they can take too many liberties. I mean, I'm the type of person where even like Google Map makes a certain suggestion, I'm like upset about it. I'm like, did I ask you? You're right. So I think, there are people who may want this, where an agent, let's say, for instance, they know the airline that you like to fly on, they know your flyer number, they know the seat that you like to take, they know that you want kosher meals or whatever, and these agents can go out and do those things for you. But I think one of the more not unusual, but I think one of the use cases that people don't talk about a lot, which may be concerning, is having bots or agents like chat with you. Let's say, for instance, you go into let's say right now, let's say you wanted to be involved in a particular topic. Let's say gardening. Gardening was the topic you want to be in, and maybe there aren't enough people in that group to kind of get that engagement going that could be monetizable. I could see these systems or these companies putting like fake bots into these chat groups so that they're creating synthetic engagement, or they're trying to get the humans to give them more information and make it and sell it as though it's kind of this, oh, we have all these people who are interested in, gardening turnip greens or something like that. So and so as opposed to it being, okay, here's like, a group of real people, the majority of them probably will be bots, maybe with a couple of humans in it.
Yeah. And, it's interesting that you say that, because there was recently an article, and I don't recall the publication. I do have a link to it, and I'll share it in the bottom of the comment section here. But I think, is it called Fans Only or Only Fans? It's
Only Fans.
Right. Yeah. And so there was an entertainer that was using a Agentic LLM to basically impersonate her and conduct chats with her clients. And there's a particular gentleman who's now suing not only the platform but the entertainer for having been, I guess, defrauded or misled, right? Because he thought that he was actually engaging with and chatting with a person, not an agent. But the take on this was that you have now folks who are getting on these quote unquote social platforms that are generating synthetic engagement, right? And we've had prior issues and concerns about chatbots and the impact they have on the volume of engagement. Because if you look at these social platforms, they always talk about, active daily users or monthly users and the amount of engagement. And when Elon Musk acquired Twitter, one of his biggest concerns was, and challenges to the Twitter executive team was, tell me what percentage of your users are actually chatbots, real, fake versus real people. And I guess the real question is if you look at the pricing of like the impressions and the engagement that gets sold back to advertisers, well, is there truth in advertising, right? What is the advertiser actually paying for? Because, a lot of the pricing, the volume that you see in terms of a TAM is dictated simply by this question of, well, what's your engagement? How many impressions? And the way that we evaluate people's clout is based on impressions and engagement, right? But I think there's this elephant in the room that only a few people are really talking about, or maybe even recognize, is the impact of all of this fake stuff, whether it's generated from a click farm or what have you. The thing is that generative AI now has the potential to be used in this capacity of inflating engagement. And so I think that's a really, I think, big question for the digital marketing marketers out there is, what are you paying for? And what are we really looking at here in terms of business models and the market in this future, where we have these agentic AIs that are talking to each other? And I don't know. I personally, if I were advertising, right? If I was spending advertising dollars to extend my reach and get my content exposed to target audiences, the last thing I want is someone to tell me you just paid whatever you paid to reach out to a bot for synthetic engagement. That's worthless to me, right?
Right.
But I think this is the kind of future we're looking at. I mean, I think this is going to be a thing. This is going to be a concern, and maybe we're the first ones to talk about this because I haven't heard anyone else talk about it.
No, I haven't heard anybody else talk about it either. Right. So we already have, like you say, there are click farms. There are already advertisers that are finding out that their content is being sent to kind of blank websites where no humans are. There are actually no humans there. But I think the opportunity for people to use chatbots for fake engagement, not just regular people. I'm talking like these big corporations that want to sell advertising, like that.
Yeah.
Companies that want to sell advertising, they have the power to be able to create these types of things that can create this synthetic engagement. And then I think it will be really hard for advertisers to know whether, this number, this money that I'm spending for advertising, are these real people? Can they make real sales? And I don't know. I think it's an extension of a problem that already exists, where there has already been people creating that kind of fake engagement, but I think it will just escalate because now the companies or the technology, maybe this is probably one of the better uses of generative AI, right? For someone who wants to create fake engagement, where they can create, this engagement at scale and point it to whomever they want to benefit or not from it.
Yeah. And I think this is kind of, in a way, like the deepfake problem, right? It's just a different flavor of it. But I don't know. I think this is going to be inevitably a challenge, just because it's so easy to do. It would be easy to do unless it becomes cost prohibitive, obviously, because running these agents is not exactly the cheapest thing in the world, right? There's a cost to any kind of generative AI workload. And that impacts the economics of that application as well. So I think this is something that audience will probably continue to track, right? I mean, like you said, this is just probably another phase in a problem that we already have, but it impacts a different kind of metric, right? Because impressions, I think people are kind of over that. They want, advertisers probably want to know what sort of engagement do you have and how much of that engagement can I tap into to drive a conversion on the ad dollars that I'm spending, right? And I don't know if it's not that, if it's synthetic engagement, I think there needs to be disclosure. I mean, just like what we're seeing with the what do you call it, the European AI Act, where generative AI, that bit of the transparency requirements that apply to generative AI. Well, transparency, you need to tell us, is this stuff AI generated or is it real?
Right.
Which I think, Twitter or X tried to do with, the memberships, right? The little blue badge or the blue bird.
Right. Yeah.
You're a real person. You're not fake.
Right. So that's what right. So they were trying to figure out whether people are real or fake. They were trying to do that by saying, okay, give me whatever, put your credit card in here, give me more information so that we know you're real and fake. That kind of backfired because very few people actually want to do that. I think real people were not happy about it. So it was hard to actually get traction on that. But, there has to be, in the future, there is going to have to be more ways for advertisers to find out whether they're really dealing with a real person I've seen, like, for example, some advertisers, they're putting some of their stuff behind paywalls, not necessarily because, okay, we think we're going to make so much money through membership, but we just want to make sure that we're talking to a real person.
Yeah.
So I think it's going to be really interesting. And then also, I think, what I'm seeing is I'm seeing, advertisers really going deep onto like more niche influencers, people who are more in these niche groups, because it's so hard to get them they're finding that they're spending a lot of ad dollars to get to some people, and it's hard to get them on these massive platforms or these massive groups. Like for example, I had a friend, we were talking about, this is like a LinkedIn group. They were talking about there was a LinkedIn group that had like, I don't know, like 100,000 people. And so he would post stuff to this group and like nobody would say anything. Like, there would be no engagement, no nothing. And so he's like, are these even real people? Like no one's reacting, no one's commenting. But if I talk with people in my little group, we may have 50, 60, 70 people. And it's not just how many people, it's like, who are these people? Right. So trying to get to a quality connection, I think companies are going to have to rethink the way they do advertising. And it may not be, I guess if you get millions of clicks if you're selling like a hamburger or something, but if we were trying to sell like a high ticket item, the volume is not the issue. It's like who is actually engaging.
Yeah, exactly. I agree with you. So this is going to be an interesting thing to continue to monitor, and we'll obviously be continuing to provide our perspectives, but it's just something that came out in conversation as we're talking about the EU AI Act. But I can just see that this is going to be, just like deepfakes, is going to become a big concern, and it should. I mean, and because it impacts everybody in these ecosystems, right? Why should we engage with your proxy, even if it's part of your profile? That's not real engagement. You're not paying attention. This is not you. This is not you. And the volume of engagement may not even have your attention. It's just like that example of the fan only or OnlyFans. Obviously, I don't really know what this platform is even called.
Yeah. Right.
But, there's this whole issue of authenticity, right?
Yeah.
Authentic. And I think, quite frankly, for LinkedIn, it helped quite a bit when people were authenticating that they were real with a government ID or something like that. You saw the number of, because for a while they had a really bad problem with, fake engagement and fake profiles being created, reaching out to real people and filling up their chat streams and stuff. So those types of measures, I think, do well in improving the quality of the network, right? The network of folks in the community. And so,
I don't know. I have a little bit of a different take on that. So, one is, for me, I am not into the, give you my ID so that you know that I'm real, right? So if you don't know, I've been posting several things a week for 5 or 10 years, and you can't figure out I'm real, then you're not getting my ID. So forget that, right? So you need to figure out other ways to tell, the fact that someone just got on LinkedIn, they have no followers or no connections, and they live in Dubai, but they're connected with someone in Ohio. Like, to me, that's like, why can't you tell that's a fake person? For me, that type of thing. But then also going back to what you were saying about this OnlyFans thing, in the EU AI Act, companies that use AI and they have someone chatting with the agent that is fake, they're supposed to identify that. So that's part of that law. And so maybe that will be something that has to trickle down, or maybe other jurisdictions will take that on as well.
Yeah.
But I think when you're dealing with these mammoth corporations, they don't necessarily have to tell you, right? So you may not know that you're in a chat room with a bunch of fake people.
Yeah.
That's like a whole other thing. So we'll see how that plays out.
Yeah, I mean, but that all of this has to also translate to the metrics that are used to price and value engagement for the advertiser, right? And I guess I'm advocating for the advertisers, that they're getting what they're paying for. You know what I'm saying? Because if there isn't a breakout of the engagement, let's say at a metrics level that is used to sell, ad inventory, then there isn't transparency, right? I mean, it really should be broken out by, here's the engagement that was generated or involved bot to bot, and was synthetic, versus things that were actually directly with a person. So, what would be legitimate would be a chat bot with a human, where the human knew that the chat bot was synthetic, but was having a legitimate engagement with it, right? So this could be like a sales or a customer service, or a customer service bot, right? But two bots talking to each other, or people just talking to a bot thinking that it's a human without any disclosure that particular stream of posts or comments was generated by a bot, it starts to raise some questions, right? Is that transparent? And
right,
what are you doing? Right.
Well,
it sounds great. It sounds great because it's sold as automation.
It is, and I think some of the UK and the EU, some of their legislation or some of the work that they're doing, they're calling out nudging. Some of that is nudging, right? Where you're having the technology try to make you do something that you probably wouldn't have otherwise done, or try to convince you of something. The technology is creating like manipulation where you're not, you probably, like this one guy, this OnlyFans guy, he's probably only talking to this bot because he thought it was the person, right? He probably would not have otherwise, had these extended conversations if he knew it wasn't like that person.
Thought he was developing a relationship.
Yeah. So I think there's I think it is going to be a big issue, especially because people are like, oh, this bot told me to do X, or decided I was going to do that. Right. So we have a situation where there was actually a airline that lost a case where their bot basically told someone that they were going to get a refund for some bereavement flight that they did, and then the judge said, well, the bot actually created a contract with the person, right? And so that's a problem, right? Where you're like, okay, well, now let the bot is like creating contracts with people, and the company's like, well, we didn't do it, the bot did it, and they're like, well, you put the bot out there and you let the bot do this, so then they're your agent, right? So now I think companies need to really think about that. It's like, okay, are you having bots doing things where they're basically creating contracts with consumers? And maybe what this guy from OnlyFans was like, this bot, maybe this bot said they were going to marry me, or they were going to give me X, or they're going to do something, and you're creating contracts from bots that you're responsible for.
Yeah. I mean, according to the article, he was giving gifts, large sum gifts, and thought he was actually engaging with the person, and again, developing a relationship. But I mean, I'm telling you, I think we just opened up a can of worms and put a whole barrel of gasoline on top of a massive fire of confusion that is going to ensue. This is a very deep topic, I think. I don't know. Do you see a lot of people talking about this yet?
No, nobody's talking about it.
Yeah, but I can
I think we
see
specialize in that,
it's
don't
here actually already.
It
Even
is.
in talk tracks, it's already here. People are already talking about it, and the tools and the frameworks are already here. Like you said, this is part of a continuum. It's just now, what kind of acceleration are we going to see with generative AI? That actually, what it is really good at doing is conversational AI.
Totally.
Right? It's good at that. And it's at this point good enough to have certain basic conversations where it can convince you that it's a human. And if we start to look at these personal AIs, the outputs are, especially for advertisers, is this legitimate? And are we looking at how are we valuing agentic AI engagement in this future that we're looking at? Right.
Yeah, it's going to be a huge issue, a huge problem, especially because they're the ability to manipulate people is great. And it's not, the harm could be, catastrophic, especially we're definitely seeing it with deep fakes. We're definitely seeing it with voice, but chat is a whole different other thing too. So yeah.
Yeah. And the counterpoint to this, obviously the rebuttal to this that we're going to see is definitely, hey, well, it's convenient. We can help you automate your engagement. So you don't have to do it, and your personal LLM will do it for you, right? And that's what it's being kind of positioned as at the moment. So, anyways, a lot more to come on this topic, no doubt, right? So, hey, audience, listen in, and, subscribe, and make sure that you're in tune with what Debbie and I are talking about here, because this definitely will be a thing. Yes, we've bumped into a 911 data diva 911 situation. And with that, hey, Debbie, why don't you tell our audience how they can get in touch with you and tap into all the wonderful data divaness that you're publishing on so many channels and on your own podcast?
Oh, yes, definitely. So, right, anyone can contact me on my website. I have a lot of videos and a lot of content there, DebbieReynoldsConsulting.com. You can link with me on LinkedIn. Just type in Debbie Reynolds Data Diva, and I'll pop right up. And people can tune into my podcast. It's called the Data Diva Talks Privacy Podcast. It's all on all the podcast channels, and it's the #1 data privacy podcast in the world for 4 years now.
Awesome. And I just wanted to provide a note here for the audience. I mean, we're highlighting these types of things, but these are great innovation opportunities for folks out there who see the challenges coming up, and then they develop solutions for addressing what these likely issues are going to be. So, there's a bright side to all of this, and, I don't think it's a stifling innovation or anything like that. There's an opportunity for innovation because, I think what Debbie and I talk about all the time is, the risks that privacy and authenticity and trust face in our world today, right? And, there's, I think, a great opportunity, and we're already seeing in the cybersecurity realm, great opportunity for innovative folks to come in and bring solutions to help enterprises and citizens, individuals, protect themselves from a lot of these potentially detrimental applications that are emerging, alongside a lot of hopefully great innovations from these hot new technologies that we always get excited about. So anyways, thanks for joining us. Really appreciate your viewership and your listenership. Connect with Debbie and myself on LinkedIn. We don't bite. We're pretty friendly, helpful people, I think. Right, Debbie?
Oh, of course. We're happy to chat with people for sure. And I agree.
Yeah.
I co-sign what you say about innovation. I want to see companies do things not about detecting what's fake, but identifying what's real, because the fake stuff is going to outnumber the real stuff. So if you're going after what's authentic, I think that'd be the best way. And then everything else is fake.
Yeah,
so there you go.
Think about it. That's why we have the cybersecurity industry, right? And it's hot, and it's going to get hotter. So think about that. Trust. It's going to be the cyber trust industry that's going to emerge, Debbie. What do you think about that?
Oh, absolutely. I agree.
We might have even coined that here. So, the benefit of listening in on the Next Curve Rethink podcast with Debbie Reynolds and a Data Diva 911 situation. There's always good stuff that comes out of the events like this, or incidents. Let's call it an incident. But please subscribe to our podcast. Speaking of podcast, which will, is featured. This obviously is being featured. Hopefully you're watching it on YouTube, but it will be featured on YouTube, on our YouTube channel, the Next Curve YouTube channel. And check out the audio version on Buzzsprout, or find us on your favorite podcast platform. Also, subscribe to the Next Curve research portal at www.next-curve.com for the tech and industry insights that matter. And we'll see you next time when we have another Data Diva 911 situation. Right?
Thank you. Happy to be here. Yeah, always.
Thanks.